Tom Meyer, Superintendent, Bellevue Community School District in Bellevue, Iowa, coming to you with this week's Believe in the Blue update. Just some information for you here regard to the board meeting that was this evening. Want to go through some just general tidbits of information. Consent agenda, we recommend the hiring of a volunteer assistant coach for wrestling. Jake Hesselman will be a volunteer coach there. We also had a comic curriculum presentation by Holly Herrig for the Spanish groups. Holly's a senior this year. She talked about the Spanish trip to Costa Rica that is from June 13th to June 22nd. There'll be a couple chaperones going along with the teacher. In addition to 18 students, will be going to Costa Rica, be going to the rainforest, cooking some Costa Rican food, just really taking in the culture of Costa Rica overall. It'd be a great trip. We went down there a few years ago as well, and students had a great time. It was a very good learning experience to get immersed into the culture. So that was a positive. Todd Bowman, a local representative, was here to speak. Andy McKean, actually our other local representative, was unable to make it due to a meeting for his position in Des Moines, but Todd was able to be here. He shared several things with us on the legislative front. He says the schools will know in the first 30 days from his prediction of how much state aid we will get as a district. He also talked about the aspect of funds overall, the Every Student Succeeds Act, and how that measures more than just proficiency on a test. He also talked about the Smarter Balance Assessment and the extra cost for that. Talked about how money is tight in the state of Iowa. The Revenue Estimating Committee came out and actually cut our projected revenue coming into the state from what it was by $100 million. We're still at a 4% growth, but there is less there than there was before. So time will tell. Todd talked about a lot of things. I want to take an opportunity to thank him. Contact him at any time. He's been great to work with. I know Andy McKean will be as well. Talking to him just since he's been elected, has been very open to talking to about a variety of different things. So I want to thank both of them for their commitment to our area, our schools, and our communities that way. We also had a Promise Iowa initiative, which is from the Iowa Association of School Boards, and we adopted that. It's basically for adequate funding for public schools and to really help our student achievement overall. Had some Comet School finance information. I'll put some of that information online as well tomorrow or later on tonight. We talked about our revenues and expenditures. We're doing fine overall. Projection down the line, we're going to run into some issues if we have decreasing enrollment, which is projected. But at this time, our solvency ratio is about 17-18%. Our unspent authorized budget is strong. It's at 1.8 million. We do see some decrease in that over the next 5 years, but we're still okay at this point and feel comfortable with where we're at. So that's always a positive, but we do see some enrollment decreases happening in the future. Also talked about the modified allowable growth dropout prevention funds. The board approved $135,007 for this. This will go on next year's application for federal for our school aid that way. We also talked about the school calendar and where that ends up. We've had discussions with some area school districts, Maquoketa, Andrew, Easton Valley, and Delwood. We keep a similar calendar to them. Have some discussions. We may vary a little bit that way from having some early morning professional development meetings or having a few more after school early dismissal times for students. That way we'll see where that ends up. I have a meeting with some teachers and other leaders in our district in the upcoming week to discuss that. Once again, we've already had some discussions. The board also recognized that for the River Valley Conference that the Anamosa School District will likely be coming in. The Board of Control or area superintendents in the conference voted 13-0 to accept them in for the 2018-2019 school year. The board was in agreement with that. Also had an update on facilities discussion. I've been meeting along with Brett Ernst with a few different architectural engineering firms. They're looking at coming in and doing some discussions with some of our groups about what they would like to see in our overall school structure as far as buildings, mainly the elementary building and the middle school, high school music room, what needs to be done, what needs to be improved, and going from there. So I have a meeting with a couple more of those representatives in the upcoming week. but we will have some recommendations for the board here, and all of you will know and be involved in the process of what our district needs. We've had local facilities committee meetings. We'll look to doing more of that in the future, but this time with a little more direction and looking at facilities themselves and what they could look like. I'm not an architect, if you haven't figured that out yet, but just trying to get some information. I've shared the information that I've gathered from meeting with a variety of people, but now we're going to take that to the next step with some actual architects and engineers to talk about our elementary building, maintaining our current building where it is, remodeling some areas, making a new school down there, building a school out at the middle school, high school campus, or something else in between, or maybe none of that at all, but we will find out. So just want to let you know that. The board also approved Stefan Nickel for an early graduation. We did some comment reading and reflection with the book Most Likely to Succeed, and by Tony Wagner and Ted Dentersmith. Remember, we showed that movie here last year. I still have a copy of that if anyone's interested in looking at that. But the one thing this article emphasizes, this section of that reading emphasized, is most likely to succeed. One part that emphasized was how things have changed in education from the 20th century model to the 21st century model when we talk about language arts, literacy, math, science, social studies, what kids need to know. I'll post this online for everyone as well to look at. It's very interesting reading to see how things have changed. It's really talking more about application of learning than anything else right now as well. Some informational items. We talked about the Wellness Committee update, how the district is looking to go peanut-free in the near future, how some changes have been made. Kelly Humphrey, the school nurse, and I have been working on a policy right now, or some guidelines for a policy that we're going to share with another subcommittee of the Wellness Committee, and then we'll meet with all the Wellness Committee either towards the end of January or the beginning of February. Had a great discussion with about 14 of us a couple weeks ago. Just a wonderful discussion. Everyone's sharing their thoughts, opinions, perspectives, whatever you want to call it. Really came to some good ideas of what we need to do for the safety of all of our students and all the people that come to visit our building. Very successful meeting overall for everyone involved. And we also talked about some positive marketing. We're doing some commercials on TV on the Freeform channel on the cable TV through On Media in Dubuque, and they'll be through the entire Dubuque area, stretching across the river, north of Dubuque, south of Dubuque, even into Bellevue. We're also doing a new brochure, which you'll be seeing that here, I'd say in the next month to month and a half, having some final drafts done right now, and then we'll take it to print and see where we end up with that after that. Kevin Lundeen and I talked about the Iowa Association of School Board Conference. Kevin talked about just some different priorities the legislator that the IASB has taken to the legislature, as far as anywhere from the statewide penny to state supplemental aid, and just the whole aid to schools on time, decision on time. We also discussed the aspect of poverty and its impact on education, and we also talked about not everything that can be not everything that be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. Just thinking about that, there'll be an article in the upcoming Bellevue Herald Leader about that same thing. Had some very good information sharing about students need engagement, motivation, and inspiration in schools overall. And then finally, we are having our board meeting in January on Tuesday, January 10th instead of Monday, January 9th. A couple different conflicts occurring, so we moved it to Tuesday, January 10th. And want to finish by talking about that we have Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds, the future governor actually, since Governor Branstad is going to be the ambassador to China. She's actually visiting the Bellevue Community School District on this Thursday, January 15th. She will be here from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and our Bellevue Big program will be the feature. We'll have about 30 minutes there to talk about Bellevue Big. Our students will talk about the Bellevue Big program, what they're doing, and how they're working with our community overall, and really growing students' passions, allowing students to work on their passions that way, and working with our community on a variety of things. The Parks to People project will also be talked about that way, that our students are working on as well, along with the county and the state. And then the Bellevue Heart and Soul group will also be speaking that day as well. So, and we're involved with all that. It's the Bellevue School and our students in many different ways. So anyway, hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Stay warm. It's cold out there, and hopefully the snow stays away. Have a great one, everyone.